kill Aquaman and destroy everything he holds dear.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
So, something happened when I was sleeping. We finally, guys, have some marketing for Aquaman 2, with the teaser trailer being released, advertising the main trailer coming this Thursday. So this video, as you probably can guess and see in the title, this is my breakdown with the shots that we get from this trailer, and I will obviously be doing a way more in-depth breakdown on the actual official main trailer that will be releasing in just a few days' time. So even though this is just a little teaser trailer, there's actually quite a bit I can talk about here, and also, you know, cluing this in with some of the DC fandom footage that we got quite a while ago now. I've got quite a bit to say, so I hope you guys enjoy this breakdown. Do excuse the way I say Aquaman. I am British. There's this user right here who apparently affects him that much that I don't say Aqua. If that ruins this video for you, I don't know what to say other than Aqua. Now, what I'm very happy about is that with this new teaser trailer, we've got a whole new synopsis, which gives us a good idea of what we're working with in terms of the new teasers we get out of this trailer. So, having failed to defeat Aquaman the first time, Black Manta, still driven by the need to avenge his father's death, will stop at nothing to take Aquaman down once and for all. This time, Black Manta is more formidable than ever before, wielding the power of the mythic Black Trident, which unleashes an ancient and malevolent force. To defeat him, Aquaman will turn to his imprisoned brother Orm, the former king of Atlantis, to forge an unlikely alliance. Together, they must set aside their differences in order to protect their kingdom and save Aquaman's family and the world from irreversible destruction. All returning to the roles they originated, Jason Momoa plays Arthur Curry, Aquaman, now balancing his duties as both the king of Atlantis and this is an important bit, and a new father. And we'll talk about Mera, Amber Heard, and stuff like that towards the end of this video. Patrick Wilson is Orm, Aquaman's half-brother and his nemesis, who must now step into a new role as his brother's reluctant ally. Amber Heard is Mera, Atlantis' queen and mother to the heir of the throne. Yahya Abdul-Mateen is Black Manta, committed more than ever to avenge his father's death by destroying Aquaman, his family, and Atlantis. And Nicole Kidman as Atlanta, a fierce leader and mother with the heart of a warrior. Also reprising their roles are Dolph Lundgren as King Nereus and Randall Park as Dr. Stephen Shin. So the very first shot of this teaser trailer, they must like it quite a lot, because it's actually a recycled shot from the first movie of when Arthur saw his mother, Atlanta, for the first time since previously knowing her to be sentenced to death. If you guys remember, they reunited and he was just like, oh my god, you're alive. So I guess they really liked the cool Jason Momoa look here, and they couldn't find a shot like that from the second movie. But the real, let's just jump to the meat of this. The real intriguing parts of this trailer as it unfolds is Black Manta. So we can tell that Black Manta, as you're seeing on screen, wants to completely dismantle Aquaman's life, as we even hear him say in the trailer, I'm going to kill Aquaman and destroy everything he holds dear. With right after that shot, we see Aquaman racing to his father's lighthouse home that is set ablaze. Now, in the first film, just in case your memory is a bit foggy, we saw that Tom Curry was reunited with Atlanta after waiting for her every morning at the pier for 20 years. And then finally, she popped back up. Now, I don't know if that meant they got back together. I mean, they did kiss, but, like, you never know. And I'm saying that because right here, you can also see Atlanta running in the background to help out, just like Arthur is. So it's, I'm guessing she doesn't stay with him the whole time at the lighthouse if they did get back together. I mean, after all, she is the king's mother, so maybe she's just swimming around Atlantis. I don't know. I don't know why I'm looking into the relationship of Atlanta and Tom Curry, but, you know, I guess maybe she could have been helpful if she was there at the lighthouse, or maybe she could have died as well. And that is something I want to bring up at the same time, because I do think that this could mean that Aquaman's father is going to die in the movie, which, you know, would set a deep-rooted motivation for Aquaman to want to take down Black Manta. Also, of course, on top of the destruction and what else Black Manta is planning to do in the movie, but could Atlanta die? I don't know if they're going to do that with both parents. That'd be kind of pretty savage if Arthur lost both mum and dad, especially in the first movie, realizing that his mum had survived the death sentence this whole time. So let me know your theories there. Now, the most exciting thing for me about Black Manta's return, and I'm sure for a lot of you out there, is that he'll be more souped up with the new mythic Black Trident that we see him using in the trailer that allows him to unleash this devastating power. Now, speaking of this devastating power, we can see that this structure here, likely in Atlantis, is getting crumbled, and it has this green energy flowing throughout it. So obviously, if I was to hazard a guess, I would assume that Black Manta's mythic Black Trident is responsible for this, and this could honestly just be a small demonstration of the power that this could unleash in the movie. And as you guessed, it looks like everything is building up to possibly an attack at the heart of Atlantis. Now, what I'm wondering, through Black Manta equipping this mythic Black Trident, we do see followers of his, and in certain shots you can see that he's not there alone with this seeming attack on Atlantis. So I'm wondering, maybe through having this trident, he amasses an army to attempt to take out Atlantis and maybe even the world, because they do say the world is at stake. So I'm not sure if Atlantis is stop one, kill Aquaman, and then do something pretty damn destructive to the planet. But I don't know about that, because where's the self-preservation for Black Manta? Okay, if you're going to destroy the world, what ends up happening to you? So maybe it's not as tropey as, I'm going to destroy the world, but whatever he does as a result of using the mythic Black Trident, it could mean massive, climate damage. And that could be, where things really might end up, because I know that Jason Momoa was really excited about this movie having some involvement in environmental issues, natural environmental issues, but also I wonder if Black Manta could be somewhat exacerbating that, because it has also been described by James Gunn that this is like a globe-trotting journey. We're going to see loads of locations, really embracing the color, the fantasy, the magic of various parts of the world as Aquaman goes out on this journey. But going back to the comment I made a second ago about Black Manta maybe attacking Atlantis, we do see Atlanta here possibly trying to evade Black Manta in this action sequence, with Black Manta likely being in this sub. As you can see, his giant red eyes in the window there. Now, I have to admit, I know a lot of you out there don't really care so much about this stuff. It depends. And also, everyone has different eyes for this stuff. I'm not going to get into a whole lecture about that, but some people thought the Flash movie was flawless with CG. Others quite simply did not. So here, I do think the CGI is a bit wonky at parts in the trailer. Now, when I first saw Atlanta, I have to admit, I thought she was a creature from the trench. Just because of the way you're seeing on screen right now. Her fingers are twice the length of what they would be, and her face is very video gamey. But then I was like, oh god, that's Atlanta. What? And no, I don't think it's just because of the excuse of, oh, they look like this because they're underwater. So as much as the first movie is praised for its visual effects, it did have some wonky moments in it as well. So I'm not dunking on it here. I just expect that there will be some moments like this, even though largely and overall it should be a fun spectacle with a lot of cool action that I'll still be hopefully very subscribed to. Stuff like this doesn't always drag down the whole movie for me. Whereas with The Flash, if you have that very consistently throughout, for example, with the two Barrys, it is very, very distracting for me. So we're going to have to wait and see. Now, what about Amber Heard? Let's talk about what the kind of plot with the characters is in this movie. What about Mera before we move on to Orm, Patrick Wilson's Orm? So as for Amber Heard's Mera, clearly, okay, this is a teaser trailer. And we did see her in the DC fandom footage, but that came out quite a long time ago now. There's really nothing of her in this trailer. It was reported that due to the Depp and Heard trial, that her role as Mera in Aquaman 2 was pretty diminished because of obviously the legal issues. Supposedly, she was meant to have a strong romantic arc in this movie with also big action sequences, and ultimately featured predominantly throughout the script of Aquaman 2 when she first read it. But then as the scripts continued to unfold, that role got more and more and more diminished. According to testimony that reveals some vague details of Heard's involvement during the trial, it says as follows: when she got the script, it was pared down from the first script dramatically. They had her in the hospital in the first part of the movie called Act 1. They had her in the hospital. Then they pretty much had her in the hospital. Then she was going to do this action sequence in the end. Now, with regards to the hospital thing, apparently, according to what was shown at CinemaCon, supposedly Aquaman 2 will feature the child of Mera and Aquaman, which, not supposedly, after all, we literally did just hear that in the plot synopsis from Warner Brothers themselves. So before anyone says, Boba, you spoiled it, no, that we know that they have a kid. So the first part being in a hospital, maybe we see the moment where she's kind of giving birth, but compared to what she was originally meant to do in the movie, be featured predominantly throughout, it was meant to be a bit more than the hospital at the beginning, and then an action sequence at the end. It was meant to be a bit more fleshed out in the middle, but now it's like hospital, and then they had her in the hospital, and then they pretty much had her in the hospital. Like that quote, I don't know, the way that person said that is pretty funny to me. Now, I believe Walter Hamada testified saying that it's actually down to they almost dropped her because Amber Heard and Jason Momoa had no chemistry. Hamada was questioned if her role was reduced for any reason, and he said, no, again, from the early stages of development of the script, the movie was built around the character of Arthur and the character of Orm. Arthur being Jason Momoa, Orm being Patrick Wilson, so they were always the two co-leads of the movie. So that's the role of Mera. From everything we can understand, she's the queen of Atlantis, she's raising Arthur's kid. Whether we're going to get any Aqualad references, I mean, maybe I can imagine they do a cheesy line of, my little Aqualad, or something like that, but he's just going to be a baby, unless the flashback to the hospital is a couple of years ago, and there's some time that takes place between the first movie and the second movie, so maybe he's a toddler in this. I really don't know, but maybe she's taking care of the kid, and maybe, as per the DC fandom footage that you're seeing on screen right now, before maybe us seeing this again in the trailer Thursday, you can see that maybe some action scenes from her will remain intact, but essentially, for the most part, with the characters as what's been described, it will be more of a buddy comedy action movie with Aquaman and his brother Orm, of whom was arrested at the end of the last movie, working together to take down the threat of Black Manta. Mixed with Nicole Kidman, their mother in the movie, getting involved. So honestly, kind of like a little family holding down the fort-esque movie with a lot of action and spectacle. And of course, we can't have a bit of war between Aquaman and Black Manta without them exchanging blows, and we see that happen in these shots here. Now you can see Arthur and Black Manta using both their tridents to hit each other. Arthur's, of course, glowing yellow, and Black Manta's glowing with that green energy we pointed out earlier, with also Black Manta himself emanating some of that green mystical energy. So perhaps it's not just the trident itself that will be powerful, but it looks as though it imbues Black Manta with power. So maybe he himself could get some super abilities like strength, super strength, maybe the ability to, I don't know if I would say breathe underwater, because he's still wearing a suit, he's still wearing the giant Black Manta helmet, but you could argue we could get the old-fashioned superhero damage suit, and that could look pretty cool. And on top of very brief scenes of Aquaman probably in king mode, maybe summoning some creatures out there, and speaking of the creatures, it looks like we're going to get a lot of sea creature rallying fun again, as we see Aquaman riding this seahorse with a bloody octopus strapped to the side of it. I don't get that. I've tried zooming in, and I don't really... I don't know what that octopus is doing. Any suggestions, let me know down in the comments. Now, let's get to some of the real talk. Do I think this movie will do good? I don't know. This is the thing. I mean, the first movie made over $1 billion. Will the second movie? I don't know about that. But you never know. Due to the public consensus, the audience, and what they remember of the first Aquaman, people who don't pay so much attention to some of the behind-the-scenes production of this movie, they just remember Aquaman 1 doing really well and maybe being really good for them. They might turn up to the second movie and it could still make, I don't know, $750 million, near the Batman levels. I'm not saying it will make 800 million, 780 million, but maybe north of 700 if they're incredibly lucky, which would be an insane success for DC in terms of that will be the first DCEU movie since Aquaman 1 that's broke past $400 million. The thing is, it has been reported that the test screening scores for Aquaman 2 have been scoring consistently poorly throughout the past, ever since they started test screening it for quite a long time, well past a year and a half or so, which is why reshoots have been a thing up until even a couple of months ago or so, which was 2 years after when production first started, they were still reshooting. Imagine like shooting 2 years ago, and it's like 2 years later, we're still doing reshoots. Now, of course, that isn't totally unusual. I mean, you know, test screenings happen so you can, you know, see how the audiences are perceiving it, so you can improve it with reshoots. But yeah, it is a bit like, you know, what's going on here? And believe it or not, despite poor test screenings from what has been reported out there, that doesn't mean it still wouldn't be a crowd pleaser. Sometimes movies have had poor test screenings before and have still found their footing with the audience. So for me, I'm not expecting like Kino greatness cinema or anything, but I still think it could be a fun time. I'm a fan of James Gunn, and I'm going to remain optimistic for an entertaining movie. But I'm not necessarily going to read into this one, as I said, being cinema and having this very thought-provoking story. I think it's just aiming to be a crowd pleaser at this point. But I would love to know what you think this movie will be. Do you think that they've kind of self-cannibalized it and just tried to aim for like a, okay, let's just put it out there and it's a fun spectacle and let's just have fun with it. Black Manta's going to be awesome. He's definitely what I'm anticipating most. Maybe a bit of comedy in there, maybe a lot of VFX. Maybe it will hold up well at some points, and maybe that's what I'm anticipating as well. VFX will look great at points, but maybe it'll be like, oh my god, what was that at another moment throughout. But let me know everything you think, and that concludes my rambly thoughts on the teaser. Of course, I will be rambling once again this Thursday. Like this video if you did enjoy it, would really appreciate that. Consider subscribing if you're brand new to the channel. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of Atlantis in the next video. Goodbye.